Shanti, how are you? Today we are going to see a very interesting topic that nobody knows the reason for why they are doing such rituals, worshipping yoni or vagina. Why do they do that in Kamakhya temple and in some other places? They worship yoni. And the question arises, is it worth worshipping? Surprisingly, in Hindu temples, the space where they place the main idol of the temple is called Garbhagriha, which means uterus or womb. So obviously that is sacred. Just like that, now they are worshipping the womb or uterus or vagina. People think that it is from the womb that we are created, so that's worth worshipping. But that is not the actual reason why it is being worshipped. There's a deep spiritual secret to that. But the Puran story behind the worshipping of yoni goes like, when Parvati Devi, in one of her births called Sati, she was sacrificing herself in the sacrificial fire of yoga to protect the respect of his husband, God Shiva, because her father did not invite her husband to the sacrificial fire. So she got furious, and to restore the respect for her husband, she sacrificed herself in the fire. And on hearing this, God Shiva got really furious, and he took her half-burnt body on his shoulder and he starts dancing. On seeing this, Lord Vishnu was terrified, because this kind of angry dance by God Shiva will definitely lead to the destruction of the universe. And it shouldn't happen. He should do something to prevent that. So he uses the Swadharshana Chakra, or the discus of self-realization, to cut down the body parts of Sati, so that God Shiva might eventually calm down. So it worked just like that. He used this Swadharshana Chakra to cut the body parts of Sati. So while he was dancing across the universe, there are many areas in India where the body parts of Sati fell down, and those places are being considered sacred, and they are called Shakti Pit. And this Kamakhya temple is one of the oldest and number one powerful Shakti Pit. And that is where the uterus of Devi Sati fell. So that is why you don't find any idol there. There will be just the statue of a womb or yoni, That is what people worship there. But why? Because in no other places people worship just a hand, just an eye, just an ear, just a leg. No. Nowhere do they worship like that. Then what's the special significance for just uterus or yoni? So there's a deep reason, spiritual reason behind that. And the uterus of a woman and the garbhagriha of a temple, they actually represent two other garbhagriha or uterus that people are quite unaware of. Only those two garbhagriha or uterus are really holy. One is a subtle uterus and the other is a physical uterus. What is that? Before that, you need to understand strikingly similar characteristics of a mother's womb and a garbhagriha of a temple. Both remains dark. So no matter how big a temple is, garbhagriha will always be dark, especially in South Indian temples. Why? And they will lit a lamp in the garbhagriha. And what happens in the uterus of a woman? When a girl gets pregnant, the uterus, the fetus, after it has reached the 4th month, only then it gets its life, which means only then the soul enters the body. Till then, what remained was just a body without life. So, a body inside the womb doesn't have any value until the soul gets in. Likewise, in the garbhagriha, the idol has no value unless it has the divine power, which is given by God, who is also in the form of a light, which is why we lit a lamp inside the garbhagriha. So what happens in the mother's womb? The soul is not created in the mother's womb. It was already there. Some man or women, after dying, the soul leaves the body, leaves the previous body and enters the mother's womb to take a new body. So the soul always remains. It just takes body after body. But what happens inside the mother's womb is it gets a new body. That is what happens in the mother's womb. In addition to that, it is in the mother's womb for the 6 months when it is inside, it is slowly forgetting its past lives and accepting the fact that it is now in a new body, it's going to start a brand new life. That's the transformation that happens inside your mother's womb. And what's the transformation in garbhagriha? There's an idol. So it is worth worship only after it gets its decoration. So the priest decorates the idol so much that the devotees gets excited on seeing it and start worshipping it. So that's the thing with Garbhagriha. And coming now to two other Garbhagriha uterus. First, let's go to the physical Garbhagriha, because Garbhagriha represents a place where soul resides temporarily. So what we have in the temple is just a statue. So we welcome a soul into that statue. We presume that soul to be the God or the deity. So that is what they show as a lamp. That's the soul. Without the soul, that statue has no value. Just like a body without your soul has no value. Likewise, and it is in the mother's womb, the soul takes rest in between its previous birth and the next birth. So the place where it takes rest in between the two births is what we call as uterus. Likewise, so this happens in this earth. But this world was created as heaven in the beginning. That's the brand new world created by God, filled with everything. We are filled with wealth, health, happiness, peacefulness, blissfulness. We were so beautiful, so intelligent. We don't fight with each other. We don't have vices in us. So we were constantly blissful. Moreover, we were soul conscious, which means we considered ourselves to be the souls that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows. It is the soul that controls this body, that sees through the eyes, that speaks through the mouth. We were aware of it. While speaking with others, we know that we are speaking with the soul, and the soul listens to us. So we don't get attracted to the external beauty. Thereby, we didn't fall for lust. Thereby, we don't fall for other vices like anger, attachment, ego, and greed. These 5 vices are responsible for causing all sorts of pain and sufferings. Since these vices were absent for the first 2500 years while this earth was heaven, we were free from all the sufferings. All we experienced was pleasure, second after second, for the first 2500 years. After completing that, this world slowly turns to hell, which is when we become slowly body conscious, thereby becoming slaves of these 5 vices due to our addiction to the sensual pleasures. Because the very nature of the soul itself is blissfulness, which we experienced for the first 2500 years. But after that, we forget that we are souls. That is why we started seeking pleasure from the external environment, which is almost impossible, or it's going to be only temporary. And it is definitely going to be followed by suffering and sorrow. That is when we start committing sin after sin. due to the accumulation of sins, we start experiencing the punishment as a consequence. So that's how we are experiencing so many diseases, poverty, natural calamities now. So by the end of the hell, God comes and gives this happy news that this world is going to be heaven again. The only thing that you need to do is to become soul conscious again. But we don't have the power to remain soul conscious forever. The only being that remains soul conscious forever is God Himself. He is called God Shiva by Hindus, and Heavenly Godfather by Christians, Allah by Muslims. All represents this one God. God is just one, and we souls reside with God in this golden red colored light world called the soul world. The only difference between God and we souls is we enter this birth and death cycle that lasts for 5,000 years while God stays away from this cycle. But still He comes in the end, 100 years before the destruction of the world, to inform us about the upcoming destruction, thereby making us stronger to face the destruction and make us pure, thereby enabling us to enter heaven. For that, God needs a body. He doesn't take birth like us through a mother's womb. So He enters an old man's body directly. And He names him Brahma, and He gives this teaching through His mouth. And those teachings are called Murli, that is available totally free of cost from all Raj Yoga meditation centers across the globe. It is also available online in many websites and YouTube, and I'll be giving the links of which in the description below this video, so please make use of it, because that is the only direct knowledge of God that we get only once in every 5,000 years, because God always comes in the end to make this hell back to heaven. So this 5,000 year is called a kalpa. Whatever happens in a kalpa, that keeps repeating kalpa after kalpa. To put it simply, if you are watching this video now, it obviously means that you have watched this video 5,000 years back on the very same day, on the very same year. And you will again be watching this video on the very same day over and over again in every other kalpa. So God gives this knowledge in the last 100 years of Kali Yuga, before the destruction of the world. This last 100 years is also called uterus, a subtle uterus, because unlike in mother's womb where we get a body, here we are already in a body, but God makes us to become bodiless, thereby become soul conscious. That is what God teaches us. How do we do that? By considering ourselves to be the soul and remembering our Father, God Shiva, so lovingly as much as possible. The more we remember God as a point of light in a golden red colored sky, because that's how the world looks like. By remembering Him more and more, we get purer and purer. No matter what you do, if you just stay focused in remembering God, there's a pretty good chance that you can get the number one rank, thereby attain the number one status in heaven, which is Sri Narayan. You can become Sri Narayan. It's just a matter of effort. All we need to do is to remember God as a point of light no matter what you do. Think of Him while you eat. Think of Him while you walk. So just have a thought of Him, whatever you are doing. So the reason we call this as the subtle uterus is because this is where we are becoming bodiless, because we are becoming eligible to enter heaven, because that's how the residents of heaven normally are. They are soul conscious. So in order to be able to enter heaven, we need to possess the qualities beforehand. So that's the Raja Yoga God teaches. We can achieve that by considering ourselves to be the soul repeatedly and remembering God continuously. That's the only thing we need to do to enter heaven. So God is doing that in this subtle uterus, which is this span of 100 years. What's happening here? We are becoming bodiless. We are being trained to become bodiless, so that we are ready to take Narayan or Sri Lakshmi's body. For that, we need to have that as an objective. Our only objective is to become Sri Narayan or Sri Lakshmi. With that in mind, we continue to remember God Shiva, thereby becoming pure as God and getting the highest status in heaven. So this transformation happens in this subtle uterus, which is really sacred, because it is, right from day one in heaven, our soul slowly loses its power. So it is a descending stage for the soul for the whole 5,000 years, except the last 100 years, where it is in ascending stage with the help of the teachings of God Shiva. So all we do is to remember God as a point of light and recollect the Murli teachings. We need to listen to Murli daily, especially in the morning and evening, and the time in between that we need to churn over the important Murli points, thereby keeping your mind busy with the thoughts of God and His knowledge throughout the day. What happens as a result? We get rid of those vices. We get rid of the worldly attractions. Thereby we are attracted only to the one God, thereby becoming as holy as God. So it is in this subtle uterus that we become holy, truly holy, worth worshipping. So, just like a woman married to her husband keeps on thinking his husband no matter what she does. Whether she cooks, she'll be thinking of her husband, especially the newly married one. So while she cooks, she will be cooking with the thought that I'm cooking for my husband. So he's going to eat it, he's going to taste it, he's going to admire me for that. So I want to make him happy. With that pleasant thoughts, she would be doing all the things she would. Similarly, we will be doing everything in the remembrance of God, which is why He is considered as the husband of all souls. It is the relationship of the soul with the Supreme Soul God, not the bodily relation. Every soul is a lover or a wife of the Supreme Soul. So, Sati is none but us. So the reason they worship, particularly yoni, is, in Kali Yuga, people give childbirth out of sex, but that is not the case in heaven. Childbirth happens out of yogic power, that is the power of thought, because they were not aware of lust. It's simply not there. They were as pure as a newborn baby in mind. That is why we worship those 33 million deities till now in Hinduism. Those were the residents of heaven, which is the ultimate target of all religions. But how do we go there? By becoming as pure as them while we were in hell itself, with the guidance of God. Only God can make us pure with His teachings. No other teaching can make us pure. So now we are Sati, which means we may or may not have got married, but still, through the power of yoga, that is the remembrance of God, that is called Raj Yoga. Considering ourselves to be the soul and remembering God as a point of light is Raj Yoga. So by yoga, we conquer lust and all other vices, but lust comes first. That's the biggest enemy. Because of lust, we have lost everything God gave in the beginning. Our health, wealth, peacefulness, blissfulness, everything. So to regain everything that we lost for the past 5,000 years, we are giving up these vices, especially lust. We are conquering it. That it means we remain pure. Even if you are married, we are still pure. We consider our brothers, our wife or husband as brothers and sisters. So we don't indulge in lustful activities. We don't even see them with lust. Not only wife, any other girl for that matter. So, their womb becomes pure, which means it is free of sexual activities. So, one becomes impure mainly through sex. All other vices comes next. The first, number one enemy is lust. If you conquer lust 100%, it means you have already conquered everything else. So, a vagina or yoni is worthy of worship when it becomes 100% pure. So, we are Sati. In remembrance of our husband, God Shiva, we sacrifice this life of ours, the last life of ours, in remembrance of God, in the service of God, in spreading the knowledge of God. Doesn't literally mean sacrificing ourselves in the fire. No, it's not like that. All religious scriptures, they have an indirect meaning. If you just say it directly, you don't understand anything, you will always misunderstand. So that is the reason only yoni is being worshipped, because that was pure for the first 2500 years. but that has become impure for the past 2500 years. But in this womb, subtle womb, this is called Sangam Yug, where God meets his children, where one kalpa meets another kalpa, where Kali Yuga turns Satyug. Satyug means the age where people there will be with the highest divine qualities. Kali Yuga means the age where people are at their worst behaviors. So there's a very big difference between Kali Yuga and Satyug. But Kali Yuga becomes Satyug. How? The transformation happens in the womb, which is also called Sangam Yuga, where God comes and decorates our soul with the teachings of yoga and knowledge, just like a priest decorates the idol in the Garbhagriha of a temple. God decorates the soul. He actually wakes up the soul as promised in the Bible. In the Bible it is mentioned God will come in the end to wake us up, but they've been thinking that he will be waking us up from the crematory ground. No, it's not that. We souls have lost the consciousness of soul, which means it's more like dead. So he is bringing the dead alive by making us soul conscious again through his teachings. We need to listen to it daily. Thereby we will automatically become soul conscious gradually. And God says, the first 2500 years when this world was heaven can also be called as the day of Brahma, because Brahma's soul, not only Brahma, everyone who listens to the God Shiva's knowledge through the mouth of Brahma are called Brahmins. That is, the descendants of Brahma or the children of Brahma. So if you listen to God's knowledge, you at that very instant become a Brahmin, no matter which religion you belonged to previously, which caste you belonged to previously. So this heaven was called the day of Brahma because it was filled with happiness. And the hell was called the night of Brahma because that is where people suffer. So God comes in the night. That is why Shivaratri is being celebrated in the night. Shivaratri or Shiva Jayanti, which is the birth of God Shiva. So he comes in the night and wakes us all up. Just like there is no light in the mother's womb or in the Garbhagriha of temple, the world, when God comes, is also the night, unlimited night, where there is absolutely no light of knowledge. There's only darkness of vices everywhere. And what does God do after coming in this night? He lifts us all up. He lifts our souls. That is what we do in temples. We lit lamps just to represent our souls. By lighting our souls, we become eligible to become the resident of heaven, thereby becoming worthy of worship. And there is another uterus that's very holy as well. That's the place where God resides. Our soul resides along with God, which is called the soul world or Parandam or Parlok. There are many names for that. So that's the golden red colored light world, and there is no day or night. So as we mentioned earlier, in all those three womb, whether it's Garbhagraha or in mother's womb or in this subtle womb, there is no day and night. There is no light especially. But one light comes in. In mother's womb, a soul from the external world enters it. In Garbhagraha, priest lights a lamp. And in this subtle womb, God lights the lamp of soul. And here, in this Parandam, where God and we souls reside all the time, there is no day or night, because there are no sun or moons. We souls will be residing there in a totally unconscious state there. So nothing happens in this womb. But while we are in this subtle womb in the last 100 years, which is now, by remembering God who is in this womb or the soul world, we are becoming pure. We are eligible to get a brand new body in the brand new world. Because now in this hell, if you take rebirth, we don't actually get a new body. Because body is made up of 5 elements. The 5 elements itself have become old now. Then how can we get a new body which is made out of old elements? But after the world destruction, this world will be renewed totally. All 5 elements will be very pure, 100% pure. So it is only in heaven we will get a brand new, very pure, 100% pure body. Because we souls will be 100% pure. But the effort for becoming pure is being put in the subtle womb, which is the last 100 years. So we remember God as a point of light while we are in this body. Because after leaving this body, with the remembrance of God, you will be able to go there without suffering any punishment. We have been committing sins, more sins for the past 2500 years. But by remembering God as much as possible, we are getting rid of those sins, thereby those punishments. But if you are careless about the God's knowledge, then we will be having to suffer the punishment for our sins. So God lends His helping hand. It is our responsibility to hold His hand as firmly as possible, which means to remember God as much as possible and churning the knowledge of God as much as possible. So it is out of the remembrance of these 2 wombs that the world is quite unaware of, that they consider the other 2 wombs, which is a mother womb and the Garbhagraha of temple, to be holy. But no uterus in Kali Yuga is holy, because everything is used for sex. If something happens, something sexual happens inside the Garbhagraha of a temple, then everybody becomes so angry. Then how can you do such acts to the uterus that you worship. If you really want to worship the uterus or yoni, then you need to refrain from sex. That's the only way of respecting yoni. So if you let your wife to be pure, it is equal to worshipping yoni or making it worthy of worship. So if you can't refrain from sex, then there is no point in worshipping yoni at all. What is the reason why people consider Jesus Christ to be holy? Some people even consider him to be God. And also they consider his mother Mary to be holy because she gave birth to Jesus Christ without sex. That is how she became holy. That is how he is considered holy. But these 33 million deities were taking birth from the pure uterus. That is why we Hindus worship them. So, make your uterus holy by becoming pure through the remembrance of God, because we are no longer going to take birth in hell. Or do you want to? You want to leave this hell as much as possible and want to enter heaven where there is nothing but happiness everywhere around. Cow and lion take water from the same pond together at the same time, which means they don't hurt each other. That's the kind of world, loving world. And we'll be living in golden palaces without any windows and doors because there is no need for that. Nobody residing there knows what stealing is. They were that pure. So we need to be in that world to remain peaceful throughout our life for the first 2,500 years. To get that richness, peacefulness, blissfulness, all we need to do is to remain pure only in this birth, only for a very few years, or few months, who knows, because time is very less for this world to be converted to heaven. So don't be careless, my dear brothers and sisters. Our Father, Father of all souls, God Shiva himself has come. If you pay no attention to him, then you will have to wait for another 5,000 years for him to come again. But there is no use in that, because even then you are going to do exactly what you are doing now, which is going to be careless to his word. So you are never going to enter heaven forever. So that's the horrible punishment. He is our Father. The heaven is the inheritance that he gives to us. It is our birthright. We should not miss it just for sex. After all, lust is the root cause of all the troubles, all the diseases we are facing right now. It is many murders are happening because of the lust. You know it already. So stay away from it, remain pure, and enjoy the world without any effort. God doesn't make you put any effort except remembering God. By remembering God, you will automatically receive the power to conquer lust. So do it and share this video with everybody so that everybody knows the reason behind worshipping yoni. Thereby they will themselves make effort to become pure. By remaining pure, we are also making the whole world pure. So it is the world completely free of any sorrow, not only for humans, but for all animals. So this is the biggest help you can do for all creatures of the world. We need to rescue all living beings from sorrow, right? You can do it by remaining pure through the remembrance of God. So if you do like this video, hit on the thumbs up button and leave your valuable comments in the comment section, so that will encourage me to do more and more videos of this sort. And please do share these videos with as many friends and relatives as possible. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe and hit on the notification bell to receive the notification of all the videos I put in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video for this long. Thank you again.